Here's every form of Denji in Chainsaw Man. First form, human form. Denji had nothing in this form, but this is the only time he truly had peace. He had that standard Shonen MC package. He was born poor and his parents died. From a young age, he was forced to pay off his dead father's debt to the Yakuza, a debt so large that it controlled every part of his life. In his human form, he wasn't even complete. He had sold one of his kidneys, an eye, and even a testicle just to survive. He was just an ordinary boy. He didn't have any special powers except for Pochita, the chainsaw devil, who wasn't just his weapon, but also Denji's only friend. Together they hunted devils and chopped wood to scrape by. He barely survived, eating whatever little he could. His life was so bad that the only dreams he had for the longest time were to live a normal life, to eat jam on bread, sleep in a warm bed, and maybe, if he got really lucky, touch a boob or two. And those were his biggest worries. He didn't have to think about saving the world or getting assassinated by some hot chicks he couldn't resist. He had nothing, but for once, in a twisted way, his life was his own. Second form, hybrid form. Did Denji come back as a savior, or just another kind of monster? He became the Chainsaw Man after his death at the hands of the Yakuza, who had been turned into zombies by the zombie devil. When he was killed, Pochita sacrificed himself to save Denji. He merged his heart with Denji's and brought him back to life as a human-devil hybrid. We first saw this transformation in the very first episode. Right after being dismembered and left for dead, Denji rose again. This form gave him superhuman strength, speed, regeneration, and the ability to sprout chainsaws from his limbs and face. Using this, he could tear through devils and monsters with ease, and the chainsaws powered by his own blood as fuel. When low on blood, the chainsaws would retract, forcing him to fight hand-to-hand until he could recover. His hybrid abilities were first shown during his fight with the zombie devil, where he wiped out an entire horde of undead Yakuza alone. Later, he used this form against powerful devils like the Bat Devil and the Eternity Devil, showing both his raw power and his reckless fighting style. Denji even surprised the Katana Man by pulling out chainsaws from his legs, proving that he was always evolving. Despite the monster-like appearance, the hybrid form is still Denji, a human with emotions, humor, and pain, just with the heart of a devil keeping him alive. Third form, incomplete transformation. Forget regeneration and the chainsaws. This is Denji's most broken ability, and it also represents what he truly is. Sometimes, Denji doesn't choose to hold back. His body forces him to. This version of the partial transformation happened when he didn't have enough blood to go full Chainsaw Man. We first saw this early in the anime, during his fight with the Leech Devil. He pulled his starter cord desperate to fight, but the transformation failed halfway. Instead of full chainsaws, only small jagged blades burst from his head and arms, just enough to keep him alive. In this state, Denji's strength and regeneration were heavily weakened. The chainsaws didn't spin properly, and this forced him to fight with raw muscle instead of power. His movements were slower, his swings were heavier, but every hit still cut deep enough to wound a devil. It's not power that keeps him going, it's stubbornness, the same will that kept him alive long before he ever had a devil's heart. And in a way, it's his failsafe. When he should be tapped out, this form gives him a fighting chance against smaller and weaker enemies. This form is also a reflection of Denji's reality, broken, incomplete, but still fighting like hell to survive. Fourth form, partial transformation. Denji is probably the only guy who becomes more dangerous when he doesn't fully use his power. As Denji became more familiar with his powers, he learned how to control them and himself. There were times he didn't need to unleash the full Chainsaw Man form, especially when he wanted to save blood or stay in control. That's when he activated his controlled partial transformation, half devil, half human, but completely aware. We saw this in later fights where he intentionally kept the transformation light. His head sprouted smaller chainsaw blades, and his arm only partially extended, letting him move faster and fight with precision. Instead of overwhelming force, in this state Denji fought with focus, dodging, countering, and striking at weak points. In this form he looked more human, with blood streaked across his face, and his senses sharpened and his reactions tightened. He could switch between human instinct and devil aggression seamlessly. The regeneration was slower, and the power weaker, but the balance it gave him was key. He could think, talk, and plan mid-fight without losing himself completely. During quick clashes with allies like Beam, or when fighting weaker devils, Denji avoided going full form, conserving blood and minimizing damage. Later we saw him do this even more strategically by summoning only partial chainsaws to hide his identity and control his strength in public. This form showed how far Denji had come, from a boy fighting on instinct to a fighter who understood his own limits. It's not just control over his power, it's control over who he wanted to be. Denji chose to fight as both a man and devil, and not ruled by either. Fifth form, full devil form. This form makes you question, is Denji still human or just a devil pretending to be one? The full devil form is where Denji completely loses control and the true chainsaw devil, Pochita, takes over. It wasn't just Denji turning into a monster, it was the real Chainsaw Man awakening, the devil feared by other devils themselves. In this state, Denji's human side disappeared completely. His body became leaner and sharper. His head was fully replaced by a roaring chainsaw, with more blades sprouting from his arms, legs, and even his back. This transformation didn't happen by choice. It came when Denji's emotions, body, or mind were pushed past their limit. We first saw glimpses of this form during the Control Devil arc, when Denji's consciousness faded and the Chainsaw Devil took over to fight Makima. In this form, he moved with pure instinct, faster, stronger, and more brutal than anything else in the series. He didn't fight like a human anymore, he hunted. The abilities here went far beyond what we had seen before. Denji had extreme regeneration, even from near death. He could also consume devils and erase their existence from the world. He also had limitless stamina fueled by blood and rage. During his battle with Makima, this form showed why he was feared as a devil that devils fear. Every swing, every roar felt unstoppable. But this form also came with a cost. Here, Denji lost his humanity completely. When Chainsaw Man took over, there was no mercy, no hesitation, just a primal need to cut and consume. It's the purest form of power, and the most terrifying part of Denji himself. After going berserk like this, Denji did come back to his senses, but there is still a question. Did the Chainsaw Devil really go dormant like before, or is he waiting for another chance? Sixth form, Dark Chainsaw Man. This form's abilities are so broken it makes you question, are you even watching the same anime? The Dark Chainsaw Man, sometimes called the Mythic form, a name given by the fans, was a rare and terrifying transformation, a version of Chainsaw Man that existed closer to his true, infernal nature. We saw this form briefly in the Hell arc, where Denji was put into Hell and faced with devils far stronger than anything on Earth. The atmosphere changed the moment he appeared. Even Hell fell silent. In this version, his entire body became darker. The chainsaws blackened and emitted a deeper, more violent roar, and his presence alone struck fear into even the highest-ranking devils. This wasn't the form of a boy or even a hybrid anymore. It was the embodiment of fear itself. The devils in Hell recognized him instantly, not as Denji, but as Chainsaw Man, the one who devours names and erases beings from existence. His abilities, like the Pure Annihilation, could make everything he kills cease to exist, even from memory. He also had a darkness-enhanced version of his regeneration, Aang strength, and fear amplification. The more fear directed at him, the stronger he became. Unlike the hybrid or full devil form, the Dark Chainsaw Man felt ancient, like an echo of the Chainsaw Devil's true nature that once reigned in Hell. When he appeared, it wasn't just another transformation, it was a reminder that Chainsaw Man wasn't just a weapon or a hero. He was something that the devils themselves once feared even to speak about. And when you think back to the time Denji was just craving for Makima's knockers, it's like both scenes are from different stories. Denji's body can survive being torn apart, but his heart, that's a very different story. Because in Chainsaw Man, the real horror isn't death, it's love.